Oh man, seems that jumping in this strange ball pit that landed in my living room has taken me to a 2016 style Minecraft Five Nights at Freddy's roleplay series. Tuesdays, am I right? Of course, these weren't the only ones. There were a lot of these so-called Minecraft roleplay series about Five Nights at Freddy's. In fact, around 2015 to 2016, I'd personally say there were too many. But this was my brain run, okay? Nothing, and I mean nothing, gets me going like a half-assed story-driven Minecraft series about haunted robots from shit-stained pizzeria chains. I mean that literally.
What the heck?
Look, I know I'm not normal, but these things were very popular. I bet a large part of the community remember these fondly back in the day. So why not look at a few? Specifically, some of my personal favorites. Because, I mean, what else am I supposed to do for 6 whole hours? Yes, Samgladiator. Haven't heard that name in a long time. If you've ever even heard of the concept of Minecraft roleplays, you'll definitely know who this guy is. Mostly known for his insanely popular Yandere High School series, Samgladiator was no rookie to these things. In fact, I'd say he was basically a pioneer of the genre. Starting off by making Minecraft roleplay series like Harry Potter and Kingdom Hearts, before settling down on the big robot cash cow, or bear. Different from your average Minecraft roleplay, Samgladiator's FNAF series was almost more of a playable minigame or game mode of sorts. Think of the Gmod event maps, if anybody still remembers those. Sam's spin on this series, I will admit, kinda just boiled down to cleaning up shit that the kids left over from the day before. Sometimes literally, with Sam acting as the more experienced security guard in the job, while the guest star, usually either Tortoise or Gizzy Gaza, being the new hire. One thing I actually thought was kind of innovative here was how a few of these game mechanics worked in the first place. This room being a classic. They'd always have a generator that supplied the power to the location, and more importantly, the doors. But like, every single time they'd go in there to fix the power, there would always be something hiding around the corner.
I'm closing you in there. I'm not going in there.
Dude, I need you to protect me. Dude.
Oh, it's still there though.
These animatronics were always played by a large cast of Sam's friends, and is probably my favorite part about these videos. They do the most random things. You could sometimes see their chat messages. I think Freddy left the game one time and then rejoined. These were really scuffed, but you could tell they were having a lot of fun making them. Usually ending in Sam either just dying completely or no, just dying completely. They only ever lived like one night here. It definitely added to the charm, but I'm like 99% sure there wasn't a real plan with these videos, like, at all. This is most evident in the story, because there isn't one. Like, maybe at first there was a small semblance of a story, being that the toy animatronics replaced the original ones from, literally the very first night, but besides that, there really wasn't much to grab a hold of. At the start. Reminding you that there's like 60 of these videos. Of course, this isn't all. This series is technically broken up by each location they work at, with the first 2 seasons, I guess, taking place in a map that more aligns with the first 2 games. With this, the animatronics, they just got more off script, if there even was one in the first place. Probably the 2 most significant characters here, or at least the ones that had a bit of beef with one another, were Springtrap and the Marionette, if you couldn't have guessed. All it really resulted in was them having to protect ghost children from Springtrap around the end of the season. They weren't too good at that, and yeah, that's basically it here. Overall, a pretty standard setup for a roleplay series about the sequel to the Bear game. Because afterwards, let's just say things change up quite a bit. Right under the Yandere High School videos, their second most popular roleplay series, being called Five Nights at Freddy's Nightmare, was, at least for me, easily the most nostalgic coming back to revisit. Something about the custom layout of the map, random assortment of animatronics, mixed with a semi-interesting story, guest stars, and game mechanics, made these actually really fun to watch. Especially the extremely outdated meme episodes.
What's that? What's that?
Wait, do you see Spooderman? Who's in the cupboard?
What?
Oh, it's the Illuminati!
Yeah, the formula is the exact same, but you could tell that Sam was definitely getting better at making these videos more interesting in a way. Even adding his own animatronic to the pizzeria called Stanley, and also includes the old pizzeria under the new one. Alright, Scott, wrap it up. The amount of work, and especially actors, that went to everything here is quite impressive. But I guess I might be biased. I ate this shit up after school like every day. It was too good. Unfortunately, this one was kinda caught in the crossfire of the Yandere High School series, like right when it began. Over time, almost completely phasing out anything to do with Five Nights at Freddy's whatsoever for almost an entire year. After this break, Sam decided to revisit the series, but now with no guest stars at all. Thinking about it, might have been for the better. Watching these over, to me, it just felt like there really wasn't much passion being brought here anymore. You could kind of tell.
Okay. Cut. If I've died while I'm in my safe room, then everyone needs to leave.
Not to mention, there was a bit of a switch up as the series slowly progressed, bringing in more characters from his other series or just changing the map entirely. But I don't know, it just didn't really feel the same in a way. Nowadays, Samgladiator's channel is, well, actually still sticking to Minecraft related content, specifically roleplays. His FNAF videos now contain smaller stories, use pre-existing maps from other creators, and, well, they're actually roleplays this time, which, in my opinion, makes these a bit more enjoyable. Definitely feels like he's having more fun here. Which probably won't be the case for me. I mean, spending the night at a decrepit Chuck E. Cheese definitely wasn't on my bucket list. Whether it was mod showcases, custom maps, or just goofing around with other YouTubers, notably AntVenom, CavemanFilms quickly became one of the most popular Minecraft YouTubers on the platform at around 2013. However, besides Wrecking Mob, this might be the best song ever made, by the way. His second most popular video on his channel is the start of his own Five Nights at Freddy's Minecraft roleplay series. My Nights at Freddy's, or MNAF, love that acronym, is commonly referred to as the best FNAF Minecraft roleplay series, so it'd be impossible for me not to talk about it. The series itself has been around for 9 whole years, and is no joke, still going on to this day. And unlike most of the other ones here, this series actually has a very long laid out narrative, so I wanted to try and summarize each of the earliest seasons as best I can. It's, well, I genuinely enjoy the storytelling here quite a lot. Our story starts at Freddy Fazbear's pizza joint, something like that, where CavemanFilms, or Dan, is approached by AntVenom, or Ant, about a possible position here at the pizzeria. Dan has just been promoted to manager, similarly on his first day here, and assigns Ant for the night guard position, also giving a quick tour of the place. While sure, the Freddy animatronic may be missing, the office is fit with giant metal doors, and the rules of safety may be slightly disturbing, it seems fine enough for the pay. On Ant's first shift, Dan tries to guide him through how to use the monitors, doors, etc., but gets pretty surprised that the animatronics are, well, actually moving.
Chica and Bonnie are not there.
What?
This is where we get more mentions of the character Ronaldo, another employee that works here, who in this series is, spoiler, our stand-in for William Afton, or the purple guy. A fitting name, he is pretty purple after all. After a few more nights, they're both pretty certain that something's up with the animatronics, and it's not just Ronaldo pulling some elaborate prank on them. I feel like this is a good enough time to mention the map they're using, as before the series began, it was actually a pretty popular functional way to play FNAF in Minecraft. Created by the Iron Commander, the place would, at night, make the animatronics actually active, if you count them turning into zombies with suits on at night. Even I used them in my old terrible roleplays from 2016, which you could imagine were just blatant ripoffs of this one.
Okay, Freddy is coming at me. Open the door! Open the door! Open the door!
Of course, in this series, these functional zombie animatronics wouldn't work for the story they were telling, so for the first few nights, either Ant or Dan, as you can see disguised as one of the animatronics, would procedurally spawn them in order to scare the night guard. They couldn't figure out how to make name tags disappear, but thankfully for the rest of the nights, they had full-on actors playing the animatronic characters. After 2 more nights of chaos, the first season ends with them swearing to never return to this haunted pizzeria ever again. Like, okay, sure. MNAF Factory is where things get a bit more interesting in my opinion, beginning with Dan and Ant both taking the recommendation for a job at Fazbear's factory. Thankfully, this season doesn't just revolve around the second game, it all takes place in a completely original location with new animatronics, characters, and just things happening. This also comes with the amazingly built out map, which was actually made by the Iron Commander once again, this time completely made just for this series. After getting a quick tour from their extremely charming manager, which includes 2 separate offices, a research and development room that they're not allowed in under any circumstance, a working assembly line, and their own really nice studio apartment, they finally get started. Even though they're in different offices here that cover separate parts of the map, they're still able to communicate with each other, in which they soon find out that the animatronics here also like to wander a bit. Which, you guessed it, it's that skinny purple Ronaldo's doing again. He ends up making all the employees there covered in tomato sauce, locking Dan and Ant inside. The rest of the series is essentially just them running around the factory, trying to find a good enough hiding spot for the night, since their offices really aren't the safest spots to be anymore. However, not long after, Ronaldo catches up to them, taking them away to the next season. season. Before that though, we have a prequel episode in our hands, see what I'm getting into, taking place at, well, Fredbear's family dining establishment. Here, Dan and Ant, who now have much higher pitched voices, are celebrating Dan's birthday party. But during a quick potty break, Dan runs into Ronaldo, now looking more 2015-ish, chopping up one of the birthday attendees in the kitchen, where he later discovers him stuffed into an animatronic suit. Flashback over and we're quickly introduced to a new location, being Fredbear's Fun Park, where Dan and Ant are inspecting their animatronic counterparts. You'd think this realization would hit their egos a bit, but who am I to judge? As owners of this establishment, they of course now fit that perfect boss stereotype of being disrespectful towards employees, constant bickering about pay changes, creative differences, and strangely even their own past.
Yeah, I remember attending your birthday party here.
What? No, I didn't know you until college, man. What are you talking about?
The whole night is essentially dedicated to a big tour of the park, and wow, this place is massive. Again, all built by the Iron Commander, this is definitely the most impressive location in the series, fitted with multiple smaller buildings and decorations that make it feel like a place that's supposed to be filled to the brim. However, here, it's not, as the place is set to premiere in the morning. During this last tour, joined by an employee named William, they find out that their scheduled night shift guards aren't gonna make it here tonight. So, reluctantly, they decide to fill in for their positions temporarily. The offices here are separate, just like last season, but now with a large connected vent where they get to partially communicate in. Since there's an obvious lack of any real doors, they're tasked with leading animatronics back to areas around the park, making sure they don't get too far away from their original stations. However, and bear with me, a Matrix-looking Freddy sends Dan into a quick nap, where he dreams about a little girl getting run over by a car, as one does. Waking up, he starts to feel a little bit like his old self, remembering more and more about his past experiences with Ant, which seems to be the perfect time to take a stroll down to Fredbear's family diner again, which is also here in this theme park by the way, where they discover the bodies of the security guards who were supposed to show up that night. When Ant runs off to call the police in his office, he's given a new hilarious looking animatronic head by this gray guy. But it didn't seem like that big of a deal at first, and Dan doesn't even notice. But he probably wishes he did when Ant ends up double crossing him by locking Dan inside a haunted house. From this point on, Ant is pretty much permanently dead, both from being thrown in a lava pit by Ronaldo and also due to wanting to focus his channel more on informative content rather than just gameplay and roleplays in general. After running from both the animatronics and animatronic Ant for a while, he's able to escape through the park's entrance, which leads him to a familiar looking house. Here, he meets with the gray guy again, whose name is revealed to be Michael Afton, yeah, where he essentially expo dumps everything you need to know about this Afton family to Dan. If you remember that weird flashback scene, the girl that got ran over is named Amelia, William Afton's daughter here. Ronaldo has also been sort of retconned into being an alias of William Afton, by the way. William never got over her death, trying to somehow bring her back, which also directly led to Michael's death. The reason William is now targeting Dan is because of him witnessing that initial murder at Fredbear's family diner. Mike also mentions that what Dan has been experiencing at this park is technically not real. Essentially, those short scenes with William in a room with Ant and Dan are where they actually are instead of this giant place. That's how Ant died. Which is further explained after William, the employee, reveals himself to be, William, shocker, in his third different look so far in the series. William's goal here, now decipherable thanks to subtitles, is to bring his daughter back through the perfect vessel, that being Dan, since Ant wasn't, he died, remember? After running around the park for a while, he does that a lot, Dan finds a way to escape this dreamlike place, but right when he gets there, Ronaldo, or William, or whatever, tries to stop Dan from waking himself up. However, just in the nick of time, Michael steps in, blocking William and allowing Dan to migrate to the next season. Which brings us to MNAF Origins, and I'll be honest, as the series started to progress, I did start to lose a little bit of interest. It's hard watching this many roleplays in a row. But this time, the series started to be less dependent on interesting character interactions and pretty original circumstances and locations, and is more so just Dan running around a facility with animatronics chasing him. Though I guess he's got a good reason, as William is still adamant on getting his soul, experiencing torment, yada yada. There's still a lot good here, don't get me wrong. I personally think it's the funniest.
There you go.
It's not cute.
And there were pretty semi-important story revelations, mainly about the Afton family, but I kind of more so felt like a way to cover a variety of different aspects of the games as quickly as possible. FNAF 2, 3, 4, and Sister Location especially. Which, in my opinion, I just think wasn't all too interesting with its execution. Okay, tangent over. The ending is kinda important here though, with Dan helping the dead kid's spirits, learning this from Shadow Bonnie or Ant and Elizabeth. It's a whole thing, successfully springlock Ronaldo or William in a Spring Bonnie suit, ending with his shift completing? I didn't think it was working here. The next series, Starlight Revival, seems to be the black sheep of MNAF, or at least it's Dan's least favorite, famously coining it as something that shouldn't have been made. This is kinda literal in a sense, as the series itself is actually non-canon, or at least not important enough to be. It's almost an artificial reboot, splitting the timeline as Dan decides to take a job under Starlight Entertainment instead of the listing from Fazbear's Factory or Season 2. Think of your standard setup for these roleplays: mix a little Starlight in the animatronics, whatever that means, a very small amount of Pizza Sim influence, a long-standing phone call, and you've got Starlight Revival. But of course, with that classic CavemanFilms spin to it. In a way, it's more grounded, at least for a FNAF story, and actually operates much like a Silent Hill game, strangely. There's no focus on Ronaldo, or Aftons, or even really Ant, just these new sets of characters, being Ryan and Veronica. But, like I said, that doesn't really matter anyway, as this entire sub-series is just a nightmare that Dan had. Leaving us with the cliffhanger that's, wait.
What? You're finally good enough to be let out? I'm on my way. I can't wait to see Ant again.
Okay, well, what am I supposed to do with these? His most recent series, being Scenery Saloon, Fazbear Bites, and Vacancy Filled, are very technically impressive and actually really good. So much so that instead of hastily summarizing them, I genuinely suggest that you check them out on your own. Same with all the series this year, it really wouldn't make much sense if you didn't. Plus, I'm supposed to talk about old Minecraft roleplays. These aren't old by any means. Scenery Saloon is kind of like its own FNAF fan game in a way, taking a lot of what worked in MNAF Factory and expanding upon it. It's also very long, so yeah. And Vacancy Filled, while still not finished at the time I'm making this video, almost doesn't even look like Minecraft, which is definitely fitting for that series. Overall, I can confidently say that this is, and will probably stay, the absolute best FNAF-tied Minecraft roleplay. You can tell that Dan is a genuine fan of these games, its lore, and the way it tells its story, and he applies these same ideas with cool twists and turns at each corner to keep you on your seat. Very excited to see what else he comes up with in the future, Minecraft or not, because I'm a genuine fan. Easily the most popular Minecraft YouTuber here, Aphmau's sub-series named, you guessed it, only spanned 5 videos, and is kinda more the same, at least night guard setup, roaming animatronics, etc. Now, I'll be honest, besides this specific series of hers, I had never watched basically anything else from her. I know, but I do remember liking this one a lot, at least its story. Here, Aphmau, who, when you know it, is taking on a new gig as a security guard working the night shift at a local Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Relatable. Before her shift, a veteran employee named Jeb shows her around the place, and wow, this actually looks pretty good, if you could ignore the low frame rate. Seriously though, for how early this series was uploaded on her channel, the amount of effort put into making the pizzeria look active is pretty insane. On her shift, the animatronics start moving, sure didn't see that one coming, with each night getting progressively more and more intense. This is done primarily by jump scares on the camera system, off the camera system, and the animatronics physically attempting to break into her office. And during all this, she seems to catch glimpses of somebody else in the pizzeria. The series starts to change up on the 4th night, where when the power goes out, Aphmau goes under the stage to power out the generator once again. Here, she finds Bonnie holding a familiar looking photo.
Claire? No. No, you can't be him, can you?
One thing I didn't mention here is that before each night, there's always a brief scene with Claire, Aphmau's sister in the series. In these scenes, she slowly starts to give more and more details about the disappearance of her son. I might have a few ideas of where he might be. Yeah, it's pretty much fully implied that this kid now possesses the Bonnie animatronic. This reveal actually was foreshadowed by how different Bonnie acted in the nights leading up. The last episode is where it's revealed that Aphmau actually initially took the job to try and figure out what might have happened to this kid, as he disappeared at the same establishment. She doesn't take the news very well. The 5th night is pretty hectic to say the least.
Oh my god!
So much so that Jeb decides to go out there to check on her mental state. She arrives just as she had gotten herself cornered in the location's safe room, but instead of prioritizing her, they immediately murder Jeb somehow.
Oh my god, it's Jeb!
The series ends with Aphmau storming out of the building, and yeah, that's actually right where it ends. Very short, but overall, everything here is done really well. While, yeah, it's a pretty bare-bones FNAF story for the most part, it gets the main draw of the series across, and for what they were working with at the time, stays fairly intriguing. I especially like how it gives Aphmau a legitimate reason for her to keep going back each night, and how the animatronics actually worked in the series, mostly being static props that would move around every so often. Sure, look, maybe it's cringe to you, but I revel in this stuff. It's my bread and butter. If you don't like it, you can leave! Nowadays, Aphmau's FNAF videos and videos in general are more skewed to a much younger audience, at least compared to 9 years ago. But looking back, this is honestly such a treat to revisit. Which reminds me, I should probably get something to eat. What in the world is a meat bites? Alright, so these guys, LittleLizard and Tiny Turtle, or LittleLizard Gaming, or LittleLizard Event, whatever. These guys were pretty big back in the day, mostly from those old realistic-styled Minecraft videos, which seems to be a reoccurring theme here, but also for their role plays. Easily their most popular of which being their Minecraft School series, which, if you've never seen any of these videos from them before, you're probably one of the lucky ones, but yeah. The Incredible Hulk, Patrick Star, and a Minion are all reoccurring students here. This role play was never really tied down to any story of sorts, thank God, which allowed for a wide variety of topics. One of them being, well, I don't know, you might have heard of it. These specific videos center a single animatronic attempting to scare them, but they always end up getting captured and trapped in some elaborate way, ending with a small boss fight against the marionette for some reason. Funnily enough, Little Kelly, another member of this group, made a very similar, almost identical series taking place in the same school, same setup, etc. It's just, whatever, nothing special to either of these really. However, this definitely wasn't the end of their FNAF related videos. They ended up making quite a lot during this time, one of which being its own dedicated roleplay series, which I do remember liking a bit better as a kid. I think I'm starting to realize why no one talks to me anymore. The series starts with LittleLizard, Tiny Turtle, and Scuba Steve, he shows up here often, don't worry, all coming back from SpongeBob and Patrick's graduation. Already know I'm in for a ride. While walking around, they stumble upon a giant missing poster, almost a billboard, for a local security guard. And wouldn't you know it, just next door is a packed Freddy Bear's pizza place. However, interestingly, all three of our heroes almost immediately recognize the gang as threats, knowing basically exactly where this missing night guard ended up. After investigating around, they stumble upon a security office, but end up getting stuck inside for the rest of the day. However, a sudden news report alerts them that they may be here for a bit longer.
Good evening, fellow citizens. This just in. The famous Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria has been shut down for 10 days by local police due to a missing guard incident. Staff of the pizzeria have been unwilling to work there, and the premises has been cordoned off until further notice.
The rest of the series is basically all three of them running around looking for a potential exit, gathering supplies, and also trying to find where the missing guard went. It actually wasn't that hard to find him, it was just located in a nearby shopping mall that's connected to the pizzeria's sewers. Duh. I'll also add that the same character's skin and voice changes multiple times throughout these videos. It's actually pretty funny.
Or should we go back to the pizzeria?
It may be safer there now as there are cameras. And more of us.
Oh gosh, you guys scared the living daylights out of me.
From then on, they end up getting captured, and then escape quickly after. They then attempt to dismantle Chica, she just gets up and leaves. In retrospect, not much is really happening. The series even ends with a weird cliffhanger, after suspicions were raised on the missing security guard when the gang finds him in a weird laboratory. Supposedly, they've done this a few times with their other roleplay series, just never finishing them, so I don't know. Make your own ending here if you really care. From what I've looked at, the Little Club as a whole is pretty much split up and started doing their own things, gravitating away from Minecraft altogether. But I had to mention them. They're a huge part of my childhood, good or not. Wait a minute. This place is filthy. Is there even a janitor working here? Alright, so MangoTango, another one I remember very fondly as a kid. This guy was, well, he's honestly kind of hard to explain. Around mid-2015, a channel called the Iron Mango, which focused primarily on Minecraft Let's Plays, started to shift its content to basically anything related to Five Nights at Freddy's. Whether it was reaction videos, gameplay, theories, these are my personal favorite.
I'm just gonna use the paint bucket tool, guys. Right there. Right there. It looks like a 5. It most certainly looks like a 5, guys. I don't know if this means Five Nights at Freddy's 5. I don't know.
Pretty standard stuff for the most part. However, due to his love for Minecraft, a second channel spawned at around the same time, being named MangoTango. And, oh my god, what a throwback. Funnily enough, he started off this channel by making yandere middle school roleplays, which, yeah, where he began to get a lot of attention online, but easily his magnum opus was his FNAF World series, which released just a few days after the game dropped. Each video here borders at around like an hour length, and there's like No joke, 70 entire videos that fit under this series' umbrella. And that's not even counting these ones. Whatever. The story here revolves around Mango, who's been graciously offered a position as the night guard at FNAF World. Each video is your pretty standard setup for roleplays like these. I sound like such a nerd right now, oh my god. Guest stars as the new hire, animatronic actors running around, killing them over and over, etc. Now, with how long each video is, there must be some sort of overarching story or plot present here, right?
Hey, my name is SpongeBob.
I mean, what'd you expect? The only thing that really connects each video together is when he goes from just a regular night guard to the owner of the pizzeria, as the last owner, Ryan, dies in one of the nights. Each new video here like to focus on new animatronics as the centerpiece, usually focusing the entire night on someone different, whether or not it was even FNAF related. There was one with SpongeBob characters, Earthbound, Undertale, Mario, Chuck E. Cheese. I could go on forever. It honestly felt like I was kind of losing my mind sometimes. Some of this series' staples include using the Fazbear Hills theme from FNAF World looping in the background for every single video, a character named Robot Richard, he just helps around I guess, and a special jump scare animation playing at the very end of each video, whether it really made sense or not.
Mango.
Oh, what's up, Corey? What's going on?
Looking back, if I'm being completely honest, this is kind of just a ripoff of Samgladiator series, just everything amped up to 200. Many of the gameplay mechanics worked the exact same. Videos were basically a screaming match between Mango and whoever guest starred here, and over time, our protagonist becomes the eventual owner of the pizza chain. However, I do think there's slightly interesting concepts here, speaking as a 20-year-old watching this 8-year-old Minecraft roleplay series meant for probably literal toddlers. Mango, as the new owner, starts to be beckoned by Purple Guy's influence as the series progresses, resulting in a few dead guest stars and a grand finale that's, well, it's a shootout with the police. Mango gets arrested after Purple Guy, which does and doesn't exist at the same time, just dips on him, which is the end of this specific series, and the start of FNAF Origins. Now, I'm not going to tread on this for too long, but it's essentially just a more lore-heavy series that, in its name, takes place before the FNAF World one. Well, kinda. He was technically just reliving the past in a dream when he was in prison, but it at least explained how he actually met characters like Ryan and how Richard first became a robot, which honestly is a kinda cool spin on ideas that the actual games represented. He experiences his own Bite of 87 version of FNAF 4, Springlock incident. I mean, it sure covers all the bases. The reveal that this takes place in a dream is broken up by the beginning of the next series, which, if you're curious, is Springtrap breaking him out of jail, and yeah, we're back to pretty much the same thing. Just sister location. It goes from a sister location series to Mango being the owner of the FNAF theme hotel, to a series about the Twisted Ones, a very short-lived one-episode pizza sim video, and his latest being a help wanted roleplay, which all in all I guess is quite impressive. I'll give him that. Honestly, I don't really know what else to say about him. He just continued trend chasing for a while until, I don't know, his passion started to die, probably. This would definitely do it for me, so. Now making content on a separate channel called From Here to There. Definitely quite a change up of his usual videos, but I honestly can't blame him. Because being stuck in this pizzeria is the very last thing I could ever want to do. What was that? Hello? Is somebody messing with me? Did I ever even open this door? A generator? Whoa. Hello? What are you doing here?